Hello dear students, welcome back. Today we are going to take out a new chapter from the biology section, chapter number 6, life processes. In this chapter we are going to learn about the different activities that are performed inside the body of an organism which help in the survival of that organism. These activities which are performed by the organisms that are required for their survival, they are known as the life processes. Every living organism, irrespective of the organism, whether it is a plant or an animal, all the living organisms present on the earth perform these life processes. So life processes are the activities or the processes that are performed inside the body of an organism which helps in the survival of the organism. There are different types of life processes performed by each and every organism. The life processes are nutrition, respiration, transportation, and excretion. There are other life processes that are performed by the living organism like reproduction, which are necessary for the continuation of the species, but is not exactly for an individual to live or survive. So in this chapter and this video class, we are going to discuss about these life processes. So for today, let us take out some life processes one by one. The first life process that we are going to discuss in today's class is nutrition. Nutrition is the process of consuming and utilizing food. Different types of organisms perform nutrition in different manner. Depending upon that, we can broadly classify the process of nutrition in two different types. They are autotrophic nutrition, and the second one is heterotrophic nutrition. So let us discuss this autotrophic and heterotrophic nutrition in details. Now let us discuss autotrophic nutrition. Autotrophic nutrition is the type of nutrition in which an organism prepares its own food by using simple inorganic substances. Autotrophic nutrition are of different types. Out of that, the most common one is known as photosynthesis. Photosynthesis is a type of autotrophic nutrition in which an organism prepares its own food by using carbon dioxide, water in the presence of sunlight and chlorophyll. So this process of autotrophic nutrition, as it is performed by using sunlight, the name photo is given. This process of photosynthesis is generally performed by the plants which contain chlorophyll in them. Chlorophyll is a green colored pigment that is present in most of the plant that is growing in our surrounding. Now, let us see what happened during the process of photosynthesis and what are the things that are utilized by this organism to perform this particular process. During the process of photosynthesis, carbon dioxide from the atmosphere, water from the soil is utilized in the presence of sunlight and chlorophyll to form glucose, which is a carbohydrate. Along with that, oxygen is also produced. The reaction that is given here is not a balanced chemical equation, but it should be balanced. So let us see what are the different steps that used to take place during the process of photosynthesis. There are three main steps that are involved in the process of photosynthesis. These steps that are involved in this photosynthesis doesn't take place in the serial wise in all the plants. Depending upon where the plant is growing, this step may be jumbled up. So let us see the general steps of the process of photosynthesis. Generally, the first step involved in the process of photosynthesis is the absorption of light energy by the chlorophyll. So this chlorophyll, which is a green colored pigment that is present in the green part of the plant, absorbs the light energy from the sun. After that, the second step takes place, that is the conversion of light energy into chemical energy. So after the light energy is absorbed by the chlorophyll, the second step that is involved is the conversion of this light energy into chemical energy. After that, the chemical energy will be utilized to split down the water molecule to form hydrogen and oxygen. Then the third step that is involved is the reduction of carbon dioxide. Here, to this carbon dioxide, the hydrogen that is obtained after the splitting of the water molecule will be added to this carbon dioxide and it will get converted into carbohydrate. So here, During this process of photosynthesis, there is the formation of carbohydrate and the oxygen which is left over after the breaking down of this water molecule. So these are the steps, general steps that are involved during the process of photosynthesis. Now let us see how can we test or confirm that there is a production of carbohydrate during the process of photosynthesis. In order to confirm whether carbohydrate is produced during the process of photosynthesis or not, we can perform a test which is known as the iodine test. This is a very simple test using a substance known as iodine to confirm whether there is a formation of carbohydrate or not. Just now we discussed that during the process of photosynthesis there is a formation of a carbohydrate which is known as the glucose. The glucose which is formed during this process, some amount of it will be used immediately by the plants, while the excess amount of this glucose will be converted to another form which is known as the starch, and it will be stored inside their body. So if there is a performance of photosynthesis by a plant, then the green portion of the plant will contain this starch. This starch, when it is mixed with the iodine, it used to change into blue-black color. So when we perform this iodine test on the part of the plant which we think that there is a performance of photosynthesis, and if the color of that part changes into blue-black after this test, then we can say that that part of the plant has performed the process of photosynthesis. Now let us see how this iodine test can be done, and how can we compare or how can we know that the part of the plant that is containing chlorophyll perform the process of photosynthesis. For this test, let us take a potted plant, a plant which is grown on a pot. Let us keep this plant in a dark room where there is no presence of any light for 2 to 3 days. After that, let us cover a portion of a leaf of this plant with an opaque object so that the light will not be received by this part of the plant. After covering properly the upper and the lower side of this leaf, let us keep this plant in the bright sunlight for 2 to 3 hours. After keeping in the sunlight for 2 to 3 hours, let us pluck this leaf. After plucking this leaf, we are going to remove out the things that was used to cover this leaf. After that, we are going to boil this leaf in alcohol so that the chlorophyll present in this leaf can be removed out. After boiling properly, the color of the leaf will change into white color as the chlorophyll present in the leaf is already been removed. Then we are going to wash this leaf with water so that the alcohol that was present on the surface of the leaf can be washed out. After washing with water, we are going to dip the same leaf in the iodine solution. When we dip this leaf in the iodine solution, the portion of the leaf that was covered will remain unchanged, means the color will be still white, while the other portion of the leaf that was not covered will change into blue-black color. This is because the portion of the leaf which was covered, as it doesn't get sunlight, it doesn't perform the process of photosynthesis and there is no presence of starch in it. While the other part of the leaf which was not covered received sufficient amount of sunlight, because of that this portion performed the process of photosynthesis and there is a production of starch. And this starch which is present in this area reacts with the iodine and it changes its color into blue-black. So this is how the iodine test is done in order to confirm whether photosynthesis process is performed or not, and in order to confirm that whether sunlight is necessary for performing this process. Now let us see how the plant used to obtain the carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. The carbon dioxide from the atmosphere is obtained by the plant through a small opening called as stomata, which are present on the surface of the leaf. This stomata used to contain two bean cell structures which are known as the guard cell. Around it there will be the presence of epidermal cell. These are the guard cell. In between these two guard cells there is the presence of an opening which we call it as a stomatal opening. The closing and the opening of the stomata depends upon the requirement of the carbon dioxide and the amount of water present inside the body of the plant. And this is controlled by this guard cell. When there is a need for opening the stomata, the guard cell takes in water from the neighboring cell, because of which it swells up, developing an opening in between these two guard cells. But when there is a time for closing the stomata, the guard cell loses water from it to the neighboring cell. Because of that, the guard cell shrinks and this opening closes. So this is how the stomata functions in order to take in the carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. Now, let's come to the next type of nutrition. The next type of nutrition is the heterotrophic nutrition. This is the type of nutrition in which an organism is not able to prepare its own food but depends upon the organic matters that is present in the surrounding. Depending upon how the heterotrophic organisms obtain their food, this mode of nutrition is divided into different types. So now let us discuss these different types of heterotrophic nutrition. The first one is the saprophytic nutrition. This is the mode of nutrition in which an organism feeds upon the dead and decaying organic matters. Some of the saprophytic organisms, for example, are fungi. Fungi is the best example for the organism which perform saprophytic mode of nutrition. Now let's come to the next one. Symbiotic nutrition. Symbiotic nutrition is the type of nutrition in which two organisms live together and both are benefited from one another. One best example of the organism which performs symbiotic nutrition is lichen. Now, let's see the next one. Parasitic nutrition. In this parasitic nutrition also, two different organisms are involved. One is known as the parasite and another one is known as the host. In this relation or in this nutrition, the parasite will be living on the body or inside the body of the host, and it will obtain all the requirement from that host. In this case, the host will not get any benefit from the parasite. So this parasitic nutrition is a one-way relationship in which only one organism gets benefited while the other doesn't get any benefit. Now let's come to the next one. The next type of nutrition, heterotrophic nutrition, is insectivorous nutrition. This insectivorous nutrition is generally performed by certain type of plant. These plants used to consume or used to feed upon small insects. It is not that these plants are not able to perform the process of photosynthesis. The insectivorous plant perform the process of photosynthesis, but some of the requirement that is needed in their body, they are not able to obtain from the soil or from the surrounding by this plant. Because of that, they feed upon the small insect so that they can get their nutrient requirement, especially nitrogen. Now let's come to the next one. Halozoic nutrition. This is the type of nutrition in which an organism used to consume the food material as a whole. So these are the different types of heterotrophic nutrition. Now let's come to the nutrition process performed by some unicellular organisms. The unicellular organism that we are going to discuss now is known as amoeba. Amoeba is an aquatic organism which has an irregular body structure. So when this amoeba, which is present in the water, comes near to a food material, at that time the amoeba changes its body structure and develop an outgrowth which is known as pseudopodia. This pseudopodia engulf the food materials. After fully engulfing the food materials by the pseudopodia, the food materials will be trapped inside an empty space in the body of this amoeba. This empty space is known as food vacuole, which will behave like the stomach of our human body. The wall of the food vacuole releases out digestive enzyme which digested the food materials, and this same wall will absorb the nutrients that is present in these food materials. After the process of digestion, the digested food materials, after it's been absorbed, the undigested waste material will be again released out by opening the pseudopodia back again. So this is how the amoeba, which is a unicellular organism, obtains food. Now let's come to the next topic, that is nutrition in human beings. In human being, the process of nutrition is performed by an organ system which is known as digestive system. The digestive system, in it, two different parts are there. One is known as the alimentary canal, and the second one is the digestive glands. Alimentary canal is the long canal through which the food passes for the process of digestion, while then the digestive glands are the glands which produce digestive enzymes that helps in the digestion of the food materials inside the digestive system. Now let us see how the process of digestion takes place inside the body of a human being. So this is a simple diagram of the digestive system. Mouth is the part of the digestive system where the first digestion process takes place. When the food is taken in through the mouth, the food particles are chewed properly and it is broken down into small pieces by the help of the teeth. After that, the food particles are mixed with a juice that is produced by a gland that is present near to the mouth, known as salivary gland. The salivary gland produces a liquid which is known as saliva. This saliva contains an enzyme known as salivary amylase. The salivary amylase digests the carbohydrate present in the food particles and it gets converted into simple sugar. Because of that reason, when we chew the food items which contain carbohydrate for a long period of time, then the taste of the food changes and it becomes sweet. Above that, the saliva that is produced in the mouth also helps in softening the food material so that it can be swallowed easily. So these are the functions that are performed by the saliva. Now, let us see what used to happen to the food materials after it has been digested in the mouth. From the mouth, the food is passed to the stomach through a long tube which is known as esophagus. After reaching in the stomach, the food will be digested again. The wall of the stomach, the internal wall, contains a gland known as gastric gland. This gastric gland produces a juice which is known as gastric juice. The gastric juice contains three substances. They are an enzyme known as pepsin which digests the protein. The next one is hydrochloric acid and the third one is mucus. This pepsin which digests the protein that is present inside the food materials needs an acidic medium. The acidic medium needed by the pepsin enzyme to digest the protein is provided by the help of this acid known as hydrochloric acid. But this hydrochloric acid is a strong acid which can damage the wall of the stomach. So in order to protect the wall of the stomach from the action of this hydrochloric acid, mucus is produced. The mucus forms a protective layer above the wall of the stomach so that the hydrochloric acid will not damage the wall of the stomach. So after digesting the food materials in the stomach, the food is then transferred to the small intestine. In the small intestine, the food materials are mixed with the juice that is produced by the liver and the pancreas as well as the intestine itself. In the juice produced by the liver, pancreas and the intestine, there is a presence of numerous numbers of enzymes which need an alkaline medium for the digestion process. But the food that comes from the stomach is acidic as it was mixed with the hydrochloric acid. So there is a need for converting the acidic nature of the food to alkaline, and it is done by the help of a juice that is produced by the liver, which is known as bile juice. The bile juice convert the food material into alkaline nature. After that, the enzymes that are present in the juice produced by the liver, intestine and that of the pancreas acts upon the food material so that the food materials can be digested properly. Above this, the bile juice also contains a particle, a substance known as bile salt. This bile salt breaks down the bigger size fat molecules and it gets converted into small size. This process of breaking down the bigger size fat molecule into small size, this process is known as emulsification. So the emulsification process is very important process and it is performed by the bile salt produced by the bile juice. During the time, the enzyme present in the pancreatic juice that is released by the pancreas also acts upon the food particles. In the pancreatic juice, there are two different types of enzymes that are present. One is known as the trypsin, which digests the protein that was not completely digested by the pepsin in the stomach. Above that, the another enzyme, which is known as the lipase, used to again digest the emulsified fat that was broken down by the bile salt produced by the liver. After this, the enzyme that is present in the intestinal juice released by the intestine digests all the components of the food and the complete digestion process takes place. After the digestion process is completed, the nutrients that are present in these food particles, they are again absorbed by the wall of the intestine. The wall of the intestine contains finger-like outgrowth which is known as the villi. This is the outer wall of the intestine, this is the inner portion of the intestine. Inside the intestine, the wall of the intestine have a finger-like outgrowth known as villi. This villi increases the surface area for the absorption of the food materials that are digested by the help of the enzymes. Through this only, the food are absorbed and it is sent to different parts of the body by transferring it to different blood vessels. After the absorption process and the complete digestion process takes place, the food particles which are not absorbed, they are sent to the large intestine. In the large intestine, there is no process of digestion that takes place. In this large intestine also, there is a presence of villi, but in a less number, not like that of the small intestine. Inside that large intestine, the liquid components of the food, they are being absorbed by its wall, and after that, the unabsorbed waste materials are excreted out through another part of the digestive system, which is known as the anus. So these are the things that are related with the nutrition in human beings. So for today, let us discuss up to this portion. The remaining portion of this chapter, let us discuss in the next video class. So let's wind up here, dear students. Thank you.